talk to former chairman of the Defence Select Committee, Tobias Ellwood, who joins us now. It's good to see you again. What's your assessment of this on the basis that it looks like, as Mark was saying, it looks like it was Israeli and it looks like it was a very measured response, and Iran itself is really playing it down. So what's your assessment of that?
Yeah, I mean, so many questions here. We knew this was coming. Israel has made it very clear that they were going to respond, looking at a number of options. But Melstride is absolutely right. This is all unconfirmed. We're relying on open source media at the moment. On the operational side, we don't know if this is a one-off, if Israel has concluded its attacks or if there's more to follow. But it does look like Israel's war cabinet has heeded the advice from Britain, from America and elsewhere not to retaliate on scale, which would leave Iran no choice but to respond again, possibly closing down the Straits of Hormuz, which would have a huge knock-on impact to the world's economy. So still a lot of questions. The next 12 hours will be critical from that perspective. I would add strategically, the targets are interesting from my perspective. Tabriz, which is in the northwest corner of Iran, this is where they fire the Shahab missile silos. This is where that base is, so very significant there. And in Isfahan, this is in south of Tehran, this is very much Iran's nuclear activity. That's where all their research takes place. And there are reports that Iran is beginning to enrich uranium again at scale, up to 60%, with enough quantity for 3 sizable bombs. And it could be that they believe that only by having a nuclear deterrent, are they going to be able to fend off any conventional attacks. So a lot of big questions there. And that's perhaps worth pondering on, because whatever happens next, the rules of the game, this shadow war between Iran and Israel has completely changed with this direct attack. And of course, it glosses over something, again, Melstride mentions, of resolving the Gaza-Israel conflict, of getting that critical humanitarian aid in, getting the hostages out, and of course, working towards an agreeable security and governance structure for that particular corner of the Middle East.
I mean, the nuclear element of all of this is very concerning if we keep seeing these tit-for-tat strikes, because both sides demand the last word militarily, don't they? But we are open here potentially to coming down that ladder of escalation if Iran denies this attack and continues trying to deflect attention away from it.
But you're absolutely right there. The question for the West, though, which we've, I'm afraid, ignored for a couple of decades, is how we've allowed Iran to develop such proxy influence, such leverage over the Middle East, in Lebanon, in Yemen, in Syria, in Iraq, and of course in Gaza as well. And that is the big nettle that we need to grasp. That's where Israel is frustrated, that Iran has become so powerful that ultimately this was about to happen. This would have happened at some stage because we've not checked Iran's ability to cause such poison right across the Middle East, building up ever since 1979.
What is positive from the West's perspective on all of this is, as you said, that Benjamin Netanyahu appears to have listened to what the White House has said. He appears to have listened to what David Cameron has said, and this being a measured attack, a measured response. The issue he's going to have, though, and how concerned are you, that obviously there's going to be a lot of people to the right of his war cabinet who think this is just simply weak and it should have been a lot stronger?
Yeah, you're right. We sometimes think that British politics is quite turbulent. It's very clear that what's going on in Israel itself is very, very difficult indeed. They've got this war cabinet, this coalition that's working at the moment, but we know that there's tensions within that war cabinet itself. We also have to recognize, or Israel must recognize, and I think they're appreciating that, not to alienate the international community. There was massive sympathy, global sympathy, after those barbaric Hamas attacks on the 7th of October, but that progressively evaporated because there wasn't a clear plan as to what sending in the military into Gaza was trying to actually achieve. And I think there's an effort now by Israel to make sure that does not happen again. There's a lot of big question marks, of course, as to how to deal with Iran, as I was touching on. I think you're going to see a very different approach if Donald Trump gets elected. Therefore, it's going to require some statecraft. And I think there's a role for Britain to play certainly in its soft power, its relationship with the United States, its relationship with the Gulf nations, and indeed Israel, on trying to finesse our way through without allowing this to really escalate.
Okay, and in terms of what we can expect to happen next, should we be concerned about Iran's proxies in the region and perhaps offences stepping up?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The one powerful operator in the Middle East that's yet to really show its colors is Hezbollah. This is the most powerful non-state actor in the world, armed to the teeth. And they've not really participated in the Israel-Gaza conflict, nor have got involved. There is some skirmishes, I should say that, from the Lebanese border into Israel, but nothing on the scale that they could move to should they wish. And my concern has always been that Iran, that is always hesitant about attacking Israel directly. This is why this is unprecedented. Will they now lean on Hezbollah to do its part in destabilizing what's going on, but particularly antagonizing and opening up a new flank for Israel and the West to be concerned about?
Can I just take you back to what you said about Trump, and if Trump gets back in the White House this year, is that a point of concern or not? I mean, it's very difficult to judge, isn't it? I mean, as to whether Iran, Tehran would be frightened of Trump in the White House, would calm down because they don't know what his responses are likely to be. He's less predictable. Or could it inflame the tensions even further at a time when you say we are trying to calm things down?
I think all of that, and that's the worry, because we don't even know what he might do either. When he was in office, he did do something which people have forgotten, and that's to take out the head of the Quds Force, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard wing that is responsible for these proxy relationships. This General Soleimani was killed, I think, in 2020 in Iraq when he was actually at the airport there. That was a drone strike there. That was the opportunity, though, for Donald Trump to then lean into this, but he chose not to. And as I say, we've allowed Iran to develop this strength. We do need to be more, I think, forthright, more purposeful in what our strategy is. That, I hope, is something that's been discussed in the back channels between Western capitals right now, because in this crisis, there is an opportunity to try and correct some of the areas that, as I say, we've glossed over, we've allowed to develop. And don't forget, and I think I said this the last time we discussed this, what sits behind Iran, of course, is Russia. And Russia is benefiting from this because, of course, is distracted away from Ukraine. And things in Ukraine are not going well right now.
OK, Tobias Ellwood, really good to talk to you.